Let's talk about it.
Okay, so it was the PlayStation 5 Showcase, and going into this, I wasn't sure. I was kind of hoping, I was like, maybe this is going to be all just brand new stuff we don't know anything about. And I'd say a big chunk of it was that. But at the beginning, they showed us a couple of things that we maybe already knew about, but just didn't have a lot of details about. Yeah. So I'm going to go through some of the things. Now, one thing that they kicked it off with that we did not know, well, there'd been rumors about, but we did not know about for sure, was Knights of the Old Republic remake.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
There was like the minute after they showed it was just a CGI trailer. The game's really far from being done. It's not around the corner. And it was simply just, I don't even know Homeboy's name, but the Sith guy with the red lightsaber. And then it said Knights of the Old Republic remake. And it's a big deal for a couple of reasons. One, it's a beloved game that millions and millions of people love. And there's so many people I meet that'll be like, KOTOR's my favorite game of all time kind of thing.
Yep.
Right.
So the fact that it's getting this beloved game is getting a remake is a big deal. The other thing that makes it a big deal is that it's coming to PlayStation, which it never did before because it was exclusive to PC and Xbox. And then the other thing that makes this big is that it is a launch exclusive on PlayStation.
Yeah.
So I believe it's coming to PC as well.
Yeah,
I don't know at the same time as PlayStation, or if it's PlayStation's going to have a little bit of time to itself, and we don't know how long. What launch exclusive means. Does that mean like for a year, like a lot oftentimes is their case? Is it just going to be a couple months? We don't really know for sure. But you add all those things up, and that feels like a really big deal.
Darth Revan.
Yeah. So
there you go.
I'm one of those people that I didn't have the original Xbox, and I got my 360 like way late in the game.
Same.
So I never played Knights of the Old Republic. I never played Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Me either.
My hope is that this is a remake a la Final Fantasy VII because
absolutely.
Because Knights of the Old Republic is like a turn-based thing, at least as far as I understand, and I'm not really much for the turn-based stuff. So if it's legit, like just sticks, it's literally the exact same game but just remade and it keeps the same systems and it stays turn-based, I probably won't jump into it, quite frankly. But if it goes to like more of an action-y kind of stuff, but still keeps like the heart and the story and all that kinds of stuff, I would absolutely love that. I would be in there, like I would give that a shot for sure. But regardless what it's going to be, I don't know if that would like completely destroy like the people who really wanted this game to be remade so bad. I mean, if anything else, hopefully they can look to Final Fantasy VII and be like, hey, see, it can be done and done well, because I feel like most people who are diehard Final Fantasy VII people played remake and like, yeah, it's different, but I really like this too.
That's what I'm saying. I think you can update it in a way that makes enough sense to people where they're not like, oh man, it's not exactly turn-based. You know what I'm saying? Like Final Fantasy VII's battle system almost couldn't be more different than its original. But at the end of the day, they stayed so true to the heart, like you're saying, that it feels like people forgave it.
Yeah.
Now, it's a little bit further apart. You know, we have 2020 or whenever that game came out, and its original release in like 96. This game is 2003. Yeah, when it first came out, and then now we're still coming up on 20 years. You know, probably by the time it comes out, it'll be 20 years. But because
I have to think that this is going to be another Final Fantasy VII, where it's like you're hearing about it now, but we're looking at 4 or 5 years away. Like I don't get the sense that this is like anywhere near being ready. So we'll just have to see. So continuing on, they announced a game called Project Eve. I don't know anything about this developer or this game. I had not heard of anything before. It kind of reminded me, I don't know that this is fair, but the whole time I kept saying, I was like, oh, this kind of thing makes you think of Bayonetta. I don't know if that is accurate at all, but it's like just the fact that it's like a female protagonist that's just over there really destroying everything kind of thing, that I kind of put those two things together. But did this interest anybody else, really?
It didn't grab me.
Yeah, me either.
No.
Okay. Honestly, the only one I thought it might be interested in would maybe Gabe, but if you're not that interested, we'll just move on. Tiny Tina's Wonderland, which I think we had heard of a little bit a while ago, but we got a little bit more information about it, so that was kind of teased yet again.
What's interesting about that was I feel like I've seen a bunch of screenshots, and it does look like Borderlands, but and it looks first person for a lot of it, but is there a third person aspect as well?
There, in the DLC that spawned this game, it's kind of set where she's the dungeon master, you're playing a game, so that's kind of like third person when she's introducing it all. And I suspect that's kind of what we're seeing where it's third person, where she's like, gather around, we're gonna play this game type of a thing.
Yeah, because it looked like I saw like characters. It looked like big-headed characters on little bodies walking around. I was like, I wonder what all this is.
And Borderlands does have like a big head mode that you can turn on as well. So it may even be a nod to that or incorporate that somehow.
Gotcha.
They showed us a bigger set of gameplay stuff from Forspoken, which is the Square Enix game. This game's not really doing anything for me.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, I think it looks kind of cool, but it's also like, and it could be just this gameplay demo. It just looks very barren, and when she was fighting people, there's like 3 of them on screen. It's not really doing much for me. But I mean, it's still seemingly a far way out, so we'll just have to see. I mean, I guess not that far out. It's looking like it's going to be somewhere in spring of 2022. So, but I don't think this is really going to be my jam. Anybody else, really?
Yeah.
No.
You know what's funny is that when I was seeing some, I mean, I don't know.
They've shown so little of it. Like, I can't get excited just because of who's making it, or I need to see a little bit more for me.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. They talked a little bit about Rainbow Six Extraction. So then they gave us a little bit more on Alan Wake Remastered, which we've talked about a little bit in the week prior. Talked about some of the stuff for the next gen version of Grand Theft Auto 5, which the game that will not ever go away or die.
Right.
So there's that stuff for people to look forward to. They showed a little bit of an extended gameplay of Ghostwire Tokyo, which again, kind of like Deathloop and a couple of other ones we've known about for a while now, but it got delayed along with a lot of the other ones. So gave a little bit more information on that guy.
Oh, wait. Sorry. Can I go back to Forspoken?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I wanted to say this, but when I first looked over at it, I was like, maybe that's not what I'm thinking of. You know what it reminded me of? Was the very first time they showed off the new Unreal Engine. When they showed off Unreal Engine 5.
Yes. Yeah.
And everyone was like, I wish I could play that game.
When I was watching this, I was like, is that? Yes. Remember, didn't they say that was going to turn into a real game?
They didn't say that it was. I don't think that there was ever any like, yes, this is going to be a real game. What they said was that this demo that we built is playable. It's like a thing you can actually have a controller and you can actually play it. It's not just a.
So when she goes to that other world and she has all those powers and she's like flying around and jumping off the middle of the air, I was like, man, that looks like that demo that they showed. But I didn't remember Square being involved in that.
Yeah, they weren't.
Yeah. So, all right. Sorry. I knew there was something about it that grabbed me, but I couldn't place my finger on it.
I can see that for sure.
We saw a trailer for, which we'd already knew about this, but we got to see a little extended trailer for Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. Another Square Enix game that's going to be coming out pretty soon. We saw Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt is coming to PS5, which I don't think we knew before this. I think at the moment it was only on PC. We saw a little bit more on Deathloop, which Deathloop's already out by the time that we're recording this. So that was kind of like a last little like, hey, get excited for this that drops in like a day or two kind of thing.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
They announced I don't know what it is exactly, but somehow or another, Radiohead and Epic are doing a thing. And it's going to be just like a little thing that you can listen to or watch. I don't really, there was really nothing to it, but I mean, I like Radiohead, so.
Yeah, we need a little bit more for that one. It seemed a little interesting, but I was like, okay, we need more.
Yeah.
They did confirm and announce, confirm because it was rumored, but they announced that there's an Uncharted collection for Uncharted 4 and Uncharted The Lost Legacy for the PlayStation 5 and for PC.
Yeah.
So they had been rumored that Uncharted 4 was going to be coming to PC, and with this collection, they're going ahead and confirming that.
Oh, I thought it was all of them. Is it not? Was it not 1, 2, and 3 as well?
I don't believe
I don't believe so. I believe it's just the remaster of Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy updated for PS5 and PC.
Oh, weird. That doesn't seem like much of a collection.
Yeah.
Seems like the thing and then the side thing we put out.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
That is what it is, I guess. So this, at the point in the show, this is where Herman Hulst comes on and he's like, hey, now we're going to show you some things that, can only get here at PlayStation kind of thing.
Yep.
Ramps it up a little.
But this is where it gets exciting.
It was when you sat up.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Straightened your back. Yeah.
So all these trailers start with the PlayStation Studios logo, and then it goes into sometimes another logo or just goes straight into the thing. Mm-hmm. And we see a Marvel logo.
Yep.
So immediately I'm like, all right, this is awesome. We're going to start finding out about the next Spider-Man. Yeah. Because we also see an Insomniac logo. So I'm like, all right, here we're going.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And it's a cutscene. It's CGI cutscene. I think it may have said something like in-engine or early capture on PlayStation 5. Something crazy like that. Something that leads you to say like, okay, we're not watching gameplay.
Right.
And it's this, bar scene, and there's all these guys that have been beat up, and there's this one guy kind of staggering to get up.
Right away.
And there's homeboy sitting at the bar, and then it just you see his back, and then the guy starts walking towards him. He pulls out a knife. It cuts to the other angle where you're seeing the front of the guy at the bar, still not seeing his face or anything. It's just a real wide angle shot of his chest sitting at the bar. He has a drink, and he like makes a fist. And then claws come out of his fist.
Oh my god!
I watched it again.
I'm like Ed. I had no clue.
Yeah.
I absolutely was like something with Spider-Man. That's what it's gonna be.
Yep.
Oh really? It's funny because from the look of it, I was like, okay, that's a little bit more gritty than Spider-Man.
Yeah, gritty is the exact word I was going to use. Yep.
And when they showed the guy at the bar, I was like, so yes, this is irresponsible. However, I'm driving home and I've just got Ed's Twitch stream playing because I didn't want to like watch it, but I wanted to hear what Ed was saying about it so I could kind of keep up. And so I glanced over and saw I go, oh, that's Wolverine out loud in my car.
That's funny.
Nice.
And then I hear Ed go, oh, Wolverine, or whatever his reaction was when the claws came out. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know what it was about it. I don't know if it was the flannel or I think Ed, was it you that, it was Chris. Me and Chris talked about it. And I was saying one of the things I felt like gave it away was I feel like it's not the same shot, so don't oops me, but I feel like it was a very similar shot than when they went and tried to recruit Logan in Days of Future Past or one of those X-Men movies where they go to him in a bar and he just tells them to F off and then they leave. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was that scene. That's what this scene felt like. I was like, "Oh, that's got to be Wolverine."
Was he wearing a tank too? No, it was a flannel shirt, wasn't it?
It's a flannel shirt in the.
Yeah, it's a flannel shirt.
It's a flannel shirt. Okay.
I showed it to Sarah, and the whole time I'm like, "It's so obvious. It's Wolverine. It's so obvious."
Yeah, in hindsight, it's like absolutely, it's obvious. But see, the grit part, I feel you there. But the reason that wasn't didn't trigger me that it was something different is because I wasn't thinking
that it would be anything other than Spider-Man.
I was expecting it was going to set up like a villain for the next Spider-Man. Like I wasn't expecting to see Peter Parker in this. So when it was a little more gritty, I was like, okay, yeah, the villains are gritty. So who are we going to be looking at? Yeah. It just nothing did it, and I had. Obviously not beforehand. It's not until the claws came out of his hand. But I had the same thing. I freaked out and the student was like nobody's here at the house because Stacy's in Dallas and I'm just by myself. And I'm like, that's Wolverine. Like, so here's the thing. I only had, in relative time, I only had a short little stint where I was really into comic book stuff. And when I say really into it, I mean for me. Like I didn't have everything like other comic book people would be like, you're not really into comics. I just kind of liked what I liked. What got me into it and what was always my favorite, Spider-Man was always number 2. Number 1 was always Wolverine. I bought X-Men comics. I bought Wolverine him solo comics. I watched the X-Men cartoon every Saturday because I wanted to see Wolverine do awesome. The reason I stopped watching the X-Men movies was because I was like, you guys make Wolverine look like a pansy. I'm out. Y'all aren't doing this right. So I stopped watching them. And so I never saw the scene that you were saying, kind of led your mind to where this goes because I never saw that movie. So I am absolutely all in on this. And when I think about it, I'm like, I love Wolverine. I think that he was an awesome character. I don't really know what they can do to make fun gameplay. Now, I trust Insomniac to do the job well. I trust that they're going to do it. But it's like when I think about Spider-Man, like he can swing. He has all these things that he can do to make it dynamic and fluid and all that. Wolverine, in a small sense for me, is almost like a Superman. It's going to be hard to do because he's not invincible, but he's really, really, really tough. And like he's got claws that in theory can cut through anything. So it's like, what really can you do here that's not going to be like I just gotta suspend my disbelief because Homeboy should just be like cutting through that guy's chest right now. And it's just like, it's gonna be a tough thing to do. But if somebody can do it, I believe Insomniac can do it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I mean, we've seen him take bullets to the head, right? And so there is that side of it where you're like, is he indestructible? Like, that makes it a little tough.
Yeah. Right.
But, you know, I think that with a layered character like him, it's almost the other things that attack him, right? More than just the physical. It's him losing his temper. It's him hurting the people he loves. It's him, you know, it's those side of things. So if you get the right voice actor and you get the right story that you tell, the fighting could almost be on the periphery. You know what I mean?
I do agree with. So that's one area where I feel like Insomniac in particular can really excel. I think they could tell a really great story with him.
Yeah.
My trepidation is like, but the gameplay part, like, how are they going to do that and do that well? Again, I'm trusting Insomniac to do it until they produce a dud. If they ever do, like, I'm all like, it's going to be good. You know, that's just the expectation I have now because they've just been able to hit it out of the park. So I'm not worried by any means, but I do initially think like this is going to be tough for them to do. Harder than I think initially when you think like we can make a Spider-Man game. I think this is going to be a tough one for them, but I think they can do it. And I'm really excited about. I have no idea when it's going to be. It's something that's super crazy early. So probably another one that's going to be 4 or 5 years down the road. So, but man, and can I just say, yes, Microsoft, with all your billions of dollars, you went and bought Bethesda, and Bethesda's a beloved, but like, it's looking like for the last like decade or so, this is the best purchase anybody's made of anything. And for the amount of money that they bought Insomniac for, like, it's just been hit after hit, and they're producing games quicker than their other teams. And it's just like, oh my, and they got it for $250 million. It's like, this is just looking like the best purchase ever in gaming. It's kind of insane to me. So moving on, then they had a big part of Gran Turismo 7, which we got to see a lot of stuff about that. And this, I've not played a Gran Turismo in a long time. I used to love them on PlayStation 1 and 2. I think this is the one I'm finally going to jump back into. So I'm excited to play it whenever it gets here. Looks great, but all car games always look great. So I'm just not like that's anything surprising by any means. But still exciting that it's finally around the corner. And then we did see what we thought we're going to see before, what I thought I was seeing before. We saw a teaser for Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Which again, Insomniac, and it's got Miles and it's got Peter Parker, and they're there, and then it kind of basically just kind of teases the next villain, which is going to be Venom.
Which we knew.
Yeah, and so I was just like, man, this one did have a date. This one said, now whether they stick to it, we'll have to see. But it did say 2023.
I'll tell you this much: the only reason I think they could pull off 2023 is because it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know I'm not saying it's that's necessarily a crazy time frame. I think what makes that potentially a crazy time frame is because we're still dealing with all the goofiness that we're dealing with.
Chris, who was talking in the trailer? Do you know?
I think it was Eddie Brock.
He has that kind of accent.
I can't remember now. There were people were saying
like
in the
a really strong Russian accent
before the end of the trailer when they showed like Venom. People were like, "Oh, it's so." But I didn't know Spider-Man deep enough to know who this character was. They were talking
Venom
about.
ends up being a couple different people, right?
Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, didn't they set up?
They set it up to be Homeboy's son.
Yeah, Homeboy's son. I forget his name now. I'm blanking. So they might be switching things around. So it might. It could be that was somebody else. But the fact that it switches to Harry Osborn? That's kind of what they made it. They alluded to at the end of
spoilers
for those who haven't played it. That's kind of what they alluded to being the case at the end of Spider-Man 1 was that yes, it was Harry was in that tank and it looked like the Venom symbiote was there. Was part of his.
That's what threw me for a loop as far as his accent.
Yeah, so I don't know for sure. As far as like traditionally, does Eddie have like? Does he have a crazy accent? I don't know. I don't know enough about that, and I don't know enough about. What I'm saying
is, I felt like Venom was answering the person talking, not that he was the same person that was Venom.
Kraven the Hunter is who people think that other person was. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, because that would be bringing out two bad guys.
Right.
Kind of like they've been doing with Spider-Man, where it's not just been one bad guy.
Sure.
We obviously know Doc Ock is back in the... Well, no, sorry. That's the Spider-Man movie. So I'm getting all confused. So if Venom and Kraven the Hunter in this, that would make more sense.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe so. And then there's a lot of people, of course, all it is a trailer. But there are a lot of people that are thinking like, or maybe I guess I shouldn't say they're thinking, they're more hoping that Venom's actually going to be a character that you can play at some point. And if he's doing his anti-hero thing, because there's been times in the comic series where he actually teams up with Spider-Man to go do some things too. So it could be one of those things where he weaves back and forth, and I don't really know exactly. So
and I don't think this will happen. I'm just putting it out there. I don't think this will happen.
Okay.
However, there's been a bunch of storylines with Wolverine and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just saying, and we're at the same exact with Insomniac. We're at the same exact place again. I don't think it'll happen. I think Wolverine deserves his own game. But at the end of Wolverine, if they want to tease something about them being together, that would be like if they start doing in gaming what they've been doing in the cinematic universe. That could be nutso.
Yeah. I mean,
that'd be amazing.
It's possible. I don't think it will happen either.
Me either.
But, you never know.
But it's the same people.
Yep. And then rounding it off, we finished it off with a look at gameplay of God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Which looks great. I mean, I'm... I mean, what did everybody think about Ragnarok?
Yeah, I'm done.
I mean...
Bring it on, let's go.
If they just showed him sharpening his axe, I'd have been like, yep. I'm in there like swimwear. Yeah. But we got to see so much more than that. We got to see an older Atreus, which was great. Yeah. We got to see a black girl, which was really, what's really funny is that I was watching, and it was just a clip on Twitter that somebody had reposted or whatever, but it was kind of a black girl watching the Ragnarok trailer and just reacting to it. And when that black girl popped up at the end, she was like, oh, no way, there's a black girl in God of War, and it meant so much to her. I was like, oh, that's kind of sweet. Just talked about,
awesome.
Just to reiterate how much, representation matters, as we saw it with Last of Us 2, and how many people felt like, oh man, yeah. So that was just kind of cool to see. And I mean, this thing's, when you hear homeboy, what's his name?
Mimir?
When you hear Mimir again, and you hear Judge, is that his last name, plays Kratos? Yeah. Like, it's just like, you just get the warm and fuzzies.
And like, even seeing like the blacksmiths, it was like, oh, that was it.
Yeah, exactly.
Those guys. Yeah.
And
the whole band is back.
Yeah.
Yes. And it looks far along. The fact that it's next year is like real crazy if you really think about it. Like, a 4-year gap is mad short. Now, they have gotten picked on, and there's been some gifs put out there where next to each other they show Kratos getting in the boat, and they're like, it's the exact same animations. But like, do we ever say that about anything else in a sequel? Like, if you go see a movie and then you go see its sequel, you're not like, he got in the car the exact same way as the first movie.
Well,
right?
And that's
not what we're here for.
Well, and that's also, I feel like that's just keeping with the character. Like,
that's
Nathan Drake has a run. Lara Croft has a way she moves. That's how Kratos gets in the boat.
Yeah, he's not gonna all of a sudden do a front flip into the boat.
Yeah.
But I feel like they feel like it's cheapening. And I'm like, do we not know that assets get reused and movements get reused? And this is a guy who, like, he pushes a boat and hops in. Like, that's what you're going to choose? Like, the fighting's going to be different. You're going to fight with Atreus different now that he's older. Like, there's going to be so many things that are different. I don't know why we're worried about getting in this boat.
I'm telling you, if Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2 swings and does a flip, I'm going to lose it.
That's it.
Because I did that before. Before.
Exactly. Chris, what'd you think of it?
Two things. One thing about the boat comment, because I saw some of that too. I'm almost certain that this was one of the developers on Santa Monica that answered back to one of it.
Okay.
I could be wrong, so I'd have to go back and find the tweet, but I'm almost certain I looked at the bio and it was one of the developers. But he said, actually, it's not the same. When they jump in, the boat rocks a little bit less because Atreus weighs more and he can't move the boat as much. So slightly one of those like little subtle things that usually you see with Naughty Dog when it's like, oh, the guy like scratches his left arm and it leaves a red mark where he just scratched, like one of those kind of crazy things. So I thought that was kind of fun, like answer back to that thing. Funny. I will say I more than any other game that is a sequel, I actually kind of felt the same thing. I was like, I mean, this more than any other one feels like just a straight up, I'm continuing on. It doesn't, most of the time when you get a sequel, like when you get Miles, and I know that's unfair because it's a totally different character and everything like that, but it's like there's all new powers and I'm not saying some of the moves that he did seem a little bit newer and everything like that, but more than any other game that I can think of in recent memory, this game really did feel like Kratos or God of War B. It didn't feel, there was nothing in this trailer that made me feel like, oh my gosh, this is where they're upping the game, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I don't say that necessarily as a negative because I loved that game. And quite frankly, because of certain things that I'll still be a little non-spoilery here, certain things that take place in the first one, this one's not going to be able to hit those points because those kind of points can only be hit the first time you hit them. So, I mean, I don't think that they need to try to play this one-upsmanship. I mean, I just want to continue this great story. And did any of you guys watch the after, when it was done, they kind of talked to some of the developers and everything?
No. Okay.
Well, they confirmed that Cory Barlog is not the director of this game.
Right.
I forget the homeboy's name, but he worked on, he helped develop with the first one. He's the director of it. Seems like he's got his head on straight. I fully trust the direction that he's going with and everything like that. And I believe that he also confirmed that this is going to end the Norse story. So it's only going to be, it's not going to be a trilogy. It's going to be these two. So to me, it's just like, I'm cool when I think of it that way. It's just like an extended, like Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and this. It's like, okay, I'm cool with it just being more of the thing I like. I'm cool with that. So it didn't really bother me, but I did see that too, and I was like, oh man, this really feels really like just continuation of the way that it was. Yeah. It just wasn't a negative for me.
Right.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I know that if they tried to change too much, we'd be saying the other way, right? We'd be like, oh, and now all of a sudden this, that, and the other from the, like, I want it to be a continuation. Like, we're at a point in technology with video games where I don't need you to jump. Like, now, do I understand that when you see Horizon Forbidden West, or whatever this new one's called, that it looks like she's got a lot more stuff going on than she does in Horizon Zero Dawn? Yes, but I feel like also as I've played Horizon Zero Dawn, that she's just learning how to fight anyway. Like,
exactly.
Kind of. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do that. Ooh, what's this little earpiece I have? Like, where Kratos now, he is the god of war. He has fought for centuries. And so, like, this is how he fights. And that's not going to, like, all of a sudden you have a bunch of new toys for the next one. So, so it doesn't bother me. And I'm glad that it looks like at least the quality's up. As long as the story's good, that's what I'll be looking for, I think, on that one.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
I'm excited about it. What did you guys think overall? The showcase. Like, did you walk away feeling good and walk away feeling like, or Cat Killer, did you watch it?
Yeah, I did. I didn't watch it immediately at the time, but I love this new format of, I just felt like it just, one thing after the next. Yeah, let's hit you. Let's hit you. Let's hit you. There's no intermission. There's a little bit, but when we got to him saying, okay, now we're getting to the meat and potatoes, I did exactly what you said. I sat up and like, all right, here we go. So yeah, there's definitely games in there that I cannot wait to play. The God of War was it for me though. I mean, I love that continuation. I had Last of Us 2 vibes. I'm like, cool, we're continuing the story. Let's go. Like, we see him grown a little bit more, and so like, I loved that. When I saw that axe, I was like, and it came back in one of the shots. I just saw that. I was like, oh yes, come on, let's go, let's do this. So I cannot wait. It'll be great.
Yeah, Ed, what did you think overall? You got to live stream it with your community, and
I really liked it. I thought it was a really strong showing. We were kind of talking about going in, I hope it's not a lot of good stuff so I don't have to buy a lot of new games. And after the first couple, it was like, okay, I think I'm safe. And then after that, it was like, oh, oh, yep, here we go. I want that, and then I want that,
I'm
and then I
broke.
want that. And,
Yeah, that's when you start wishing that Sony had Game Pass, right?
yeah, exactly.
You know what's kind of cool is that the same kid is playing Atreus.
Yeah.
And so, like, I love
he's
that
grown up.
he got to play young. Yeah, and like he's grown up too. And so,
How
Yeah,
weird is
great.
it just to see this CGI character and be like, oh my gosh, look how big he is. Look,
yeah,
he's grown.
have you grown up?
Oh, he's all grown up.
Yeah. Chris, what'd you think, bud?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of echoing some of the things that you guys said. The whole time I feel like I was like excited to see more and where we're going next and all this kind of. I love the quickness of it and all that kinds of stuff. I was mentioning with Ed and Router earlier. I was like, it's one of those things that when I went back and thought about it after the fact, even though I enjoyed the showcase, there really wasn't a ton in there that I personally feel like I'm going to be getting. But it was I still had a good time with it. It's like there was a lot of things, even the games that I was like, oh, this maybe isn't necessarily for me. I still was like, oh, but that looks like it's going to be good for those people that are really into that, like the Eve game, and then like Forspoken. Like, even though wasn't for me, it's like I know there's people out there that are just like going crazy over this, and that's amazing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So overall, I really enjoyed it, and then pretty much all of the back half, I'm the most excited about.
Yeah.